you listen to your friends and family more than anybody else for anything. Like what schools to send your kids to, what neighborhoods to live in, what kind of medical treatment to get if you're going through something. Like we trust the people we trust with everything. Like it makes perfect sense that this would be as effective as it is. But just being able to realize that like you can do something that can move an electorate 10% is just absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. So like I'm sure if you're here at 7 p.m. on a Monday, you are somebody who has probably taken an action before. You've probably so if you've knocked doors, like you know how many doors you have to knock before somebody actually answers. And you know how many conversations you have to sort of start and say, and hi, can I leave the lit and leave before you actually have like a meaningful one. That's why we need so many people to write the postcards, to knock the doors, to do the phone banking. If you do an hour of phone banking, you know how few people actually pick up and then engage with you when they do. If you're only talking to your friends, well, that rate's damn near 100%. So that really changes the whole formula. So
Mhm.
it's a bit different, but that is why it is the most effective thing that you can do.
So, just really quickly, I have an extra question here. There are several men here on the call tonight. Just please, will you let them know how important it is for them to talk to their friends as well?
Oh my God, please and thank you. Absolutely. I mean, our messaging is geared mostly towards women, but the idea that these issues only affect women is obviously not the case. And the truth is, we're at a place in this country where it doesn't look like it from the media, but the vast majority of us actually agree on an issue like reproductive freedom, right? Even Republican women tend to support women making those decisions as opposed to politicians. Um, it's the guys. We need you to talk to your friends. We really do. It's not always the most comfortable topic, but just being able to say, "Hey, I was at this event on Monday night, learning how to talk to my friends about politics." Like maybe that's the opening that you need. But like we couldn't, I mean, we cannot do this without you, truly. So thank you for being here and being willing to engage on these issues on behalf of, that's not just your wives and your daughters. It's like on behalf of people like me who you've never met. Like, thanks.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Okay, so how do you respond to people? We're talking to them now, when they think you're just really being hyperbolic about, Project 25, 2025.
Because it sounds really, really bad. Yeah, no, that's a great question. Like it sounds made up. I kind of wish it were. If you weren't paying a lot of attention, it's sort of a natural thing, I guess, to say, wait, really? Like that sounds like an absolutely dystopian nightmare of a government. And that's because it does. So the thing that drives me the craziest about Project 2025 is the way that they would radically remake the government by getting rid of all of the bureaucrats, which is their word for like the experts, the scientists, the mathematicians, the people who decide, the people who run the federal agencies. They would literally replace top down every single one of those humans with a politician that was appointed by a president that is pretty much all knowing, omnipotent, like has all of the executive power. That's the thing about it that scares me the most. So, talking about how they have already started to do what's in Project 2025. I mean, one, let them know. It seems crazy, but they really did write this all down in a 900-page book. You can buy it in bookstores soon. JD Vance wrote the foreword. Like, it's available online if you want to read it now, but please don't do that to yourself. I'm happy to talk to you about it. The way that you know it's not hyperbolic is because they're already starting to do it. They're already starting to do it across the country. Every
Mhm.
time you see Republican trifectas in states, what I just described happens. They start having politicians be in charge of all of their policy. It becomes really impossible to do things like funding public education, or dealing with a climate change related crisis. It's just like it's very hard to come together when you have a governing ethos like that. Talk
Mhm.
about the bans. Talk about the sheer number of bans because that helps people see it as a political strategy. Project 2025 is a political strategy. People need to connect the weird stuff that they see happening in their community, the like, argument at the school board over bathrooms that doesn't make any sense, this book ban on LGBTQ authors that doesn't make any sense, this protest at the drag story hour that doesn't make any sense. They need to understand that that is all a political strategy to frighten and confuse them so that they don't participate in democracy, or they don't show up in November. So when they realize that, like, this is a strategy, it's politicians want to do this so they can remain in power or gain power, people really do get that. It's just helping them sort of connect the dots to all the things that they're seeing around them.
So, let's talk about the subject that we always have you talk about, which is disinformation. How do you respond if you broach a subject and you get met with something that's just, that's not true? Like they want to take away all the guns, or they kill babies after birth, all of these crazy things that we're hearing that we absolutely know are not true. So what do we do when we are talking to folks and they bring this up?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Okay, so this answer comes in two parts. And the first part is know who you're talking to, right? Some of this stuff is so out there that if somebody comes to me saying that Democrats execute babies after birth, I know that I am not talking to somebody who actually wants to have a conversation with me. Because the bottom line is, if you believe that about me, you have no business talking to me at all. Like, why on earth would you want to have a civil conversation with me? So I know already you're not engaging with me in good faith. I'm actually going to not have that conversation with you at all. And the reason why is because we are at opposing odds. And it's not that we're on different sides of the political spectrum. It's that I want to talk to people about the issues that matter, and you want to waste my time. And I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to allow anybody to take my joy or waste my time or deplete my energy in any way. So when I'm arguing with somebody who I know knows better, just gonna back up and walk away. Now, if you're somebody who gets energy from doing that, go for it. Spend all day, fine. Well, don't spend all day. Do things that are actually effective. But really, don't engage when you hear something that wild. Now, the reason why disinformation works is because some people who are, well-intentioned and your friends and neighbors, they hear stuff and they believe it. So if you're talking to one of those people, that's what I want to, that then we're good. Let's have that conversation. It's probably not going to be as wild as the executing thing, because it's really difficult to believe a thing like that. But let's say they have heard something and they believe it to be true. The most important thing to do is to meet their concern. Like, yes, we are all afraid for our kids. We're all worried about our kids learning the things that they need to exist in the world. We're all worried about our kids being safe and healthy at school. Meet their concern. And then, instead of engaging with the piece of disinformation that they have brought to you, talk about that concern from a personal point of view. So if they come to you saying, I'm really worried about adult material being distributed in third grade classes, you can say, I don't think that's happening, but I'm really concerned about kids learning the right stuff at the right ages too. And that's why I care a lot about who's on the school board. Do you pay attention to that? Or how do you feel about these book bans? Then it becomes a more productive conversation. So meet the concern, because the concern is real. Like, this is a scary, scary time to be a parent. It's a scary time to be a woman. If somebody comes to you because they're afraid, it's probably because somebody was trying to scare them. Help them recognize it's a political strategy, and the number of bans. I brought that up before, but I should say the number of bans helps them to get it. It's not just your community. There are thousands of book bans happening all over the country. There are, laws in almost either in consideration or on the books in almost every state that would affect trans kids. Like, this is a volume issue. That really helps people get that it's the strategy. So yeah, ignore the people that you should ignore and meet the concerns of the people who are well-intentioned, and talk about your community.
I'm going to go ahead. What I would like to do is just really quickly share a little bit about getting into Rally. And once you have logged on or picked your state, so for most of you on the screen, you would be choosing other states that are not listed there. Like I said, we have a national rally campaign that we are going to be sharing. We have information in there about Project 2025. We have information about saving IVF and birth control. We will keep adding as we go information about these like really big issues that we need to be addressing. So when you get in there, it's just like setting up any other account online. You're going to go to Rally, you're going to you're going to sign up for an account. If you already have one, then just sign in. But if you are creating one, you're going to sign up. And you can use your Google email or you can use your Yahoo email and it will automatically let you through. If you have another type of email like MSN or SBC Global or AOL, then you're going to create an account and you're going to have to go to your inbox to look for the link, but it's a magic link. So you don't have to make a password. You just get that link and click it and you're in. And then you will find your state, which would be for most of you other states, and click that to join. And then you're going to set up your account just like you do for everything else. You do your legal first name and last name and your information because we're going to match you to the voter file. And when you enter that information, and then the voter file will pop up and will show you everybody who matches your information. You should be the top person like I am here on this. And then you just click to check yourself as matched to the voter file. If you don't see yourself, then click none of these. And then go check your voter registration because they are doing purges a lot of places around the country. So you want to check that. And then the biggest thing we want, of course, is like, who are you going to reach out to? Like, who are the friends that you can contact about voting? We would love for you to think of 10 to 12 people that you can like take on as your voters that you were going to talk to. I would just say tonight, if you don't have that list right in front of center, think of like your bestie, your husband, your spouse, your adult child, and start with them as a practice, maybe enter a couple more. And would love for you to send a message or start sending some stuff out tonight. So if you go on the tasks tab, you're going to see build your squad. And that's where you add your friends that you're going to reach out to. There's also a brainstorm function. So if you're having trouble coming up, this will give you different groups of people to think through and help you build that list. But you're going to go into the build your squad. You're adding your contact name, legal name, the city they live in, the state, and their age range. We do not ask for phone numbers or emails. We are not contacting them. This is simply to match them to the voter file. It defeats the entire purpose if we were doing outreach to them. I see a question from Vicky.
What if you don't know the exact spelling of their legal first and last name? I just a good example because I go by my legal spelling. My first name is Vskie, but typically I drop the E when I'm doing anything that's not, like my email and kind of thing. That's not a legal document. So
yeah, all I can say is do your best. Put it in how you think it should be and then see if it pops up in the voter file. And if it doesn't and they're registered, then maybe try a different variation. Worst comes to worst, you just say none of these and you don't match them to the voter file.
okay.
The downside to that is that, number one, by using the tool, you actually get information like, you can see their voting history. So like you can see if they skip elections. So somebody you should reach out to. It will also report when people like request an absentee ballot. So you can know like, oh, I should follow up that they've returned that. Or it'll tell you when they voted so that you can stop reaching out because it's focused on somebody who hasn't voted yet. So if you don't match them to the voter file, then you won't have that information, but it's not the end of the world. It's also the way that we were able to know who was contacted, right? So that 10% number I showed that we had a 10% impact on voter turnout. We know that because we know on back-end data that like these people were reached and this is the impact that it had. We don't get the information, but the data company anonymizes it, and then we're able to like compare it to the voter file. Don't ask me how the data works because I don't do the data piece.
Okay, yeah, and Jane just asked a good question in the box that I was just about to ask. So thank you, Jane. Because I have some friends of mine who are definitely on the opposite side of the aisle. Do I try to bring them in? Because some of them are like completely gone. There's
no.
Yeah.
Here's what we say, and this is my shortened version of this training, but if it is a person who is completely gone, if they are in the MAGA hole and QAnon, like you're not going to waste your time with them because it's not going to make a difference. And for every hour or two you spend trying to influence them, you could be actually reaching somebody that is persuadable.
Okay.
So no, we're not trying to reach them. I tell people I want to reach even my really, like, I have a friend group who all feel like me, but I am still their source of information. They still like, who do I vote for school board, or what's going on? Like, I still make sure I talk to them about everything, even though they're very like-minded, just because people really don't know their whole ballot. And then number two are those people who just aren't paying a lot of attention. And so they, you know, maybe they have they've always voted a certain party, and like, you're like, why would you do, like, people that you think you can have some persuasion over, MAGA, QAnon, like, no, we're not doing that. It's just not worth the time. But anyways, if you do your best to match the information, you add them, and then the voter file will pop up and you can match them to the voter file. If they're not there, just say none of these. It's not the end of the world. It's better if you can, but it's not the end of the world if you can't. I know people are Beth, but they're Elizabeth, but maybe they go by Lizzie and they're not really Elizabeth. You know, I know those things happen. And so once you get them entered, you are going to, I think I jumped ahead. Hold on a second. Yeah. One more thing. Once you get somebody entered, the next thing you're going to do is answer a key question about them. And this is really just to help us give you actions that match that person's level, I guess I would say, of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess meeting them where they're at. So if you rank somebody at the top of the scale, like they are on our side, they should be here volunteering, like they're a number one. Or maybe you rank them as like, I need to persuade these people. If you rank them, then what we'll do is we will send actions that are only geared toward those like volunteer people. And then we'll also have actions that are geared more toward persuasion people. So when you click on that friend, if there are 4 persuasion, you might see some actions that are different than the actions for the higher level people. So that's why we ask you to rank them, so we can try to get you the best information possible. So you answer the key question, and then you're good to go. So you can start actually taking action, which is what we would love for you to do tonight. Please, like, reach out to a few people. We want to like get used to doing this. There's really no time to wait. So if you go to the tasks tab, you will see some of the actions that we already have loaded in there. I know Project 2025, like sharing our explainer and things of that nature, are in there. So you just click the name of the contact that you want to reach out to, take the action, whether it's sending them something or calling them or texting them. And then when you're done, please come back and click that you did it. That helps us know that that person was actually reached. That helps us show the impact that we're having. So we would love everyone to do that, because I know that's one thing. People get excited and they're already talking to their friends and they're out at happy hour and they've had all these fabulous conversations and then nobody reports them back. And then we, you know, have no way to be able to say, oh yeah, we reached this many people. So that's the screen, just in case you still need it. So text Bradley to 59868 or use that QR code to scan.
Someone was wanting to know about, are we going to have any reaching out to strangers? I said probably closer to time, maybe like we did last time. I don't know. But right now we're focusing on relational.
We focus on relational organizing because it is literally the most effective thing you can do to move elections. We have in the past done some outreach to our own membership, because we also like I said, just because you're involved doesn't mean that it's just like you're like friends who are like-minded. It doesn't mean that they're actually voting all the way down ballot. Or they don't necessarily make a plan to vote, or they have the best intentions and they don't. So we actually reach out to our own membership sometime to remind people. We will probably do that closer to the election through like some kind of a texting program. The other thing we have done in the past, and I'm not sure this will be, as we've reached out to some local school board races that we were targeting, or some state ledge races, to local women, just to say, hey, you know, you have any questions? Did you know there's a school board race? Did you know there's a state legislative race? I'm in Ohio. Did you know there was a Supreme Court race? We might do some of that outreach, but really our focus is on relational organizing, because we know that is where the biggest bang for your buck is. That is where you can make the biggest impact. And so that's where we are really, really trying to focus all of our energy and time.
So another question is, I'm already posting to my personal Facebook page with over 1,000 contacts. How would Rally improve on that?
Because whatever you post on your personal Facebook page doesn't mean everyone sees it. I mean, I administrate several groups, and I don't even see the groups that I'm in the administrative for. Plus, right now, Facebook is suppressing political posts. In fact, I just saw a study that came out from a technology group, and they said something about like 65% of posts were like suppressed. Like it was, I don't remember the exact statistic, but it was 65% like loss of, data being shared across some of the social media platforms as compared to like other election cycles. And it's very easy to scroll past social media too, right? If your friends who are like-minded see a cute meme or a funny story, like, yeah, they may click on it, but doesn't mean that like maybe those persuasion people are, you get their attention by sending things directly to them, by talking directly to them, like by having those conversations. They're gonna potentially ignore social media, but they're not gonna ignore that text from you or that DM.
But they might be pissed off at you for texting them stuff.
Well, I say this, you know what, if you phrase it, and it depends who the person is too, right? Like if it's a kind of a stranger, maybe, but most of the people I know like want to be informed voters. And so I always just couch it in terms of like, hey, you guys, there's a lot at stake this election. There's a lot going on. I want to make sure all of you guys are really well informed. So I'm going to be sharing info that I get from really great sources so that you guys can be informed voters. Most people are kind of like, oh, cool, because they say they're going to do their research and you're too busy. You know, I say do it, and if they don't like it and push back, then that's probably not your person that's going to vote your way. Vote your way anyways.